Welcome. So, for the last while, we've been struggling with this this red CI. Um, the root cause is that the image comparison when run in CI for like a golden expected image is different than image comparison run locally. Um, we noticed that uh, if we run it, oh, hold on, I need to hide my keystrokes for a minute. Um, for whatever reason, on Windows Subsystem for Linux, um, they don't have this uh, /run user 1000, well, I guess they do now. They used to not have it, and so when we did a podman command, it would fail. But so yeah, if we run the tests here inside of a container that's built from Ubuntu 22.04, spoiler alert, they'll pass, I think. And if we run it locally, they'll fail. And it's kind of like, well, who's right? Um, I think the container is right and locally it's wrong. Because if we run it from yet another kind of container, right? If we do a podman run mount here as /haunts, make it interactive, give it a TTY, run Ubuntu 24.04. Sorry, what did I do here? Run rm -v interactive. Oh, -tty. -tty. So we'll need to apt-get update, apt-get upgrade and stuff, but that's fine. But yeah, the test pass here, right? Let's do a test fresh because there might be stale expectation files kicking around. But yeah, we fail here, and it's because this is a slightly different image. Like the expected image is kind of crisp, and the generated image is kind of blurry, to be honest. Like what I look at right now is like there's some like vertical kind of scratchy stuff or word grain almost on the wall. And if I go look at the generated image, it kind of blurs it a little bit, right? This is kind of more crisp, kind of blurry. And we probably want the crisper stuff. So whether what should be made is the crisp stuff or what should be made is the blurry stuff, and we have to fix one or the other. We can actually have a third data point of what happens in a fresh 2404 container. We're gonna have to do a little bit of work to build up that image, but I did it the other day. So we're going to app that, do a podman copy the install script to the hash of the running container here. That worked, right? Yeah. So here it is. So we'll run it. Oh, I didn't finish this edit. We got kind of a weird thing going on in that we don't export the path, so Go is not going to be on the path. I got to think about this. So yeah, like set-e is good for kind of like we expect everything to just work, and if it doesn't work, we want to know. Set-e will say if a subcommand fails, bail out of the script. So the problem is that this might work and it might not work, and that's to do if Go is installed yet. So um, if I do, hold on. That echoes the current PID of the process. Echoes a built-in, so this is the PID of our bash. So if I run bash echo, oops, that set-e false, right? I've proven that bash exits when you set -e. But what I want to know is if false, then echo. Huh? So we're still. Um, is there a way to check what your options are? Display the names and values of shell variables. Okay. Uh, yeah. Sorry. I thought we set -d. Anyways, I want to see. Okay, if we did a if Go version onto DevNull, does this export actually leak out to do the and on purpose? Sorry, how my words are all messed up right now. What I want is for install build dependencies.sh to check if Go is installed. If it is, don't worry, just leave. If it's not, go get it. Um, the problem is I think that if we use that, yeah, I don't think it affects our environment, right? So if we export foo is foo, we can echo foo, right? And then echo lol pipe through a group of export foo equals bar, right? We don't see that. Um, we don't see foo get overwritten. There's a subshell, so the subshell's foo gets written to bar, and then it exits, and we're back to where we started, where foo is still foo. But yeah, so I need to fix this script, but long story short, um, it's not going to set the path up properly. So we're going to need to do this. Local go All right, so if we'll probably have to install a bunch of things, and I should add them to the list of packages or whatever. But let's see what breaks. Make test. Maybe I already did add them. No, I didn't. I mean, I guess the thing to do is just set +e, go version into dev null, and then if $huh is not 0 or equals 0, then exit 0. Otherwise, set -e again, and just do this. That's what to do. That's what we do. This just feels ugly to do that, but it's shell scripting, so maybe it's supposed to be ugly. All right, so the test just passed. The test passed in a 2404 instance. So I'm running 2404 on Windows Subsystem for Linux. I think it's Mesa Utils that has GLX info. Now this isn't going to have a display server, right? But if I xvfb run GLX info, we get stuff. Now this has LLVM pipe as the driver. If I do an xvfb run here, like natively, it uses my graphics card through the D3D12 driver. Can I get an LLVM pipe renderer for my tests? Do I dare? Because right now, the tests actually use the graphics card, which is what's going to happen in production. And keeping your tests closer to production is almost always better until it's prohibitively difficult. Your applications test should be very close to production. In my opinion. So, Mesa, choose render. Let's try this. libgl always software, right? Not set here. But if we say set it, this includes our environment, right? set to true. We need to set it to true. Make should also inherit that, right? Okay, I think we're learning. Now, it might be that there's a bug in the Windows Subsystem for Linux Mesa driver. Um, or it might not be a bug so much as it's a different driver. It's allowed to do its own thing, and that's what it does. But for reproducibility, do we want to always use LLVM pipe or a software renderer? We can either make my local machine, local environment do software rendering, or we can make CI do a different thing than it's doing right now. Do I want CI to run on a real GPU? If I can, that would be good. Because at the end of the day, users are going to have real GPUs. And so we should support that. Now, I'm not sure that AppFair has that for free. We should just look at docs, I think. Documentation. Can I search this? Yeah, we'll subscribe. Wow. Okay. There's just straight up IPs. Maybe Google can answer the question. Um, AppVeyor uh, use real GPU. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wait a minute. That's like pretty slick. How does Appfire make money? Am I signed in? Yeah. It's been a while since they've posted, but meh. Um, hmm. So I think the answer to this question of can we run on a real GPU in CI is really a yes, but we would have to provide the hardware. I don't want to do that. Okay, the next question is this the smoking gun proof that there's a bug in the DirectX kind of layer for Windows Subsystem for Linux graphics? Um, it might make the most sense to reach out to people who would know more than me. Okay, first of all, let's look at this here. Okay, yeah. So I think that I just wanted to make sure that this behaves the way I wanted it to, which I think it will. This means exit this block with a code of 1 and set-e will pick that up as a failure, so we'll be happy. And if it doesn't, we might get owned. So that's kind of important to check. Uh, I'm confident in this, right? So if this fails, this fails. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Um, use set dash e. Um, to guard against. Wait, why am I making this change? Hey, Bossy, how's it going? Using set dash e to make sure we don't think things are okay when they are not. Yeah. I'm not doing TDD for this kind of project here. It's just the scripts for building CI and stuff. So we push it. But yeah, welcome back, Vossi. I think you might not have been here for it, but we've basically found the smoking gun for why these image comparisons are breaking. If I run the tests in a 2404 container that uses LLVM pipe as the renderer, the tests pass. And if we use the special Mesa thing, libgl always software equals true, it will pick it'll pick the same renderer. It'll pick a software renderer. And so if we run the test now, it won't use the GPU during the test, but it at least behaves the same as the other tests. Let's just, make sure. But yeah, so it comes down to CI doesn't have GPUs. Should it? Or is it really that the kind of native graphics driver for Windows Subsystem for Linux has a bug that makes it look this way and should get fixed? I don't have enough context to know if it's a bug or not, but I think at least seeing that run it with software render, we get what we'd expect. Run it with this driver, we get something else. Is worth asking someone about who might know more. Do you happen to know more about this stuff, Vossi? Did what I say make any sense? Um, the other thing we could do is install a whole new Windows subsystem for Linux install at 2204, I think, and see what that thinks. I haven't been up very long, so forgive me if I misunderstood, but this is for the test you were doing where you compare the pixel data and check for a match. That's right. You're saying when you render software based, then it's fine, but when you use hardware, it doesn't match anymore? Yes. Yes. Maybe I should make sure that it's not my hardware, now that you put it that way. What's an easy way to do that? I'm thinking maybe I can use my real Linux machine sitting next to me to go and run these tests. That's a good start. Also, updating your drivers can help validate some things. Yeah. Yeah, I think at least for Windows Subsystem for Linux, the like driver ends up being a bit of glue work or plumbing between like the Linux side and the Windows side of things. Because the kind of cool thing is that just out of the box, if you do um, if you say what is my driver in Linux, it says your vendor is Microsoft Corporation and it's a Direct3D 12, and that is my graphics card. Um, they do a weird thing where it's like uh, there's this like system image running in parallel with your VM, and in there they have this like compatibility layer between uh, Linux things and Windows things. Are we still on the image comparison test? Yes, we are, but I think we've made progress in terms of uh, finding more data points to compare. So I ran the tests in a 2404 um, Docker container, and they pass. I run them in the 2204 container, they pass. And they both use a software renderer. And if I force my local machine to use a software renderer, they pass. So the the culprit seems to be the driver, or at least some layering there. Um, but as Vossi pointed out, it might be hardware, or as Vossi pointed out, it made me think it might just be hardware. Have you compiled for Windows and tested it? I have not. That's good news. It is. Um, Compiling for Windows might be a bit of a effort because we'd have to port our native code, and that does like window manager stuff. But I think what I can do, um, do I have? I think if I turn on NordVPN uh, mesh network, I can hit my laptop. Let me not show this right now. Sorry, let me not show that for now. I'm just logging in. An ad starts in 15 seconds as well, so now might be the time to grab a coffee or something. But I gotta log into Nord. I use NordVPN to have networking between my machines and not worry too much about which physical network they're on. Annoyingly, though, you gotta turn on MeshNet locally by opening the whole NordVPN thing. You don't just get it for free. That might have done it there. Yeah, we got it. Okay. So like I'm not connected to the VPN, but I have MeshNet now, so that's cool. All right, let me show the monitor again. Okay, so now I can go here. This was a while ago that I was on this machine working on it. April. Hmm. Need coffee. Be right back. Okay. Where are my keystrokes? It's always something. It's always something. Okay, there we go. Oh, thanks for the kind words, Not Slather. Good night. Yeah, so if we SSH into Nexus, the issue is to do with alpha blending. Probably. Um, it's probably that. I don't, to be honest, I don't have enough background in graphics to like have a good intuition for how to classify it. But yeah, like we end up with, um, well, maybe not even alpha blending, but texture blending because, uh, oops, libgl. We gotta not run cached. Um, there, it's easier to see if I open these manually here. Test data, house viewer. Oops, 0. Okay, so over here is what we expect. Over here is what we get. Um, but if we say zoom in on this painting, I mean, I think it's a painting. These are about roughly the same size. So it's kind of really hard to tell at this zoom level. It's like, uh, hold on. It's a bit more faded on the right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You gotta squint real hard, but it is a little bit more faded, and it seems like um, things are kind of blending with their neighbor pixels when I don't want them to. Um, and I would imagine that's not what should happen. Uh, I imagine that it's not even that I told it to do the wrong thing. I think it's doing the wrong thing. And the only difference between that and the other is hardware versus software-based renderer. The only, yeah, yeah, that's right. Um, so what I want to do is go to my other Linux machine. Maybe I just need to uh, do X forwarding. Does X forwarding even work anymore? No XAuth data. Um, I think I have to do like XAuth something. Why does my tab complete not work? Anyways, right now there's no display. Um, did I validate the texture description before dumping? I.e., did they match in both software and hardware? Um, I guess I haven't. Also, are you using Metmaps? Maybe your software based isn't generating those. It could be a plethora of things. It could be, yeah. So what I want to do is get more data points. I want to be able to run it on real hardware off of the DirectX renderer kind of path. Um, so that means I got to trick my laptop into uh, letting me connect to its display server, or to connect back to my display server. Uh, maybe. Okay. How does XAuth work again? I forget. Hmm. Mhm. There's some stuff in it. Mhm. Ah, we need to run XAuth locally so that we can curry those changes in. I'm not too worried about leaking that cookie. Like, um, protocol name. Windows subsystem for Linux, SSH with X forwarding. Yeah, yeah. I'm pretty sure it's this forward X11 yes should be okay. So vim. Okay. And then we don't need to do this if we actually pass dash x though, right? We have xeyes, but that's from the local host. Um, I need to use the meshnet thing. What is this saying? This is saying no XAuth data here, like locally, right? So I don't remember having to do this like manually before. I mean, even if I did do X forwarding, it's just going to talk to my local thinger. It's going to talk to my local. So I don't want to X forward. I want to go here, look for xorg, right? :0. If I do, it'll show up on my. I don't have x's. Okay. This is a real thing. So now if I my directory structure is a bit scuffed here. But yeah, I think this will run with the software renderer by default. So let's make sure that this machine can run the tests and pass. Hopefully the software renderer actually passes. This is like an Arch Linux box too, so it's a lot of different stuffs. Apparently a very slow network connection as well. Okay, so that failed. Oh, that's tip of tree. I need to commit these expectation file changes. Testing. I am going to add that. It gives me an easy way to print the renderer thingy from Hauntsland. Test set expectation data to match software renderer output. Let's push that as a new branch. So now this should pass. I hope. No. Okay. We have a handy helper. Access meshnet. Workspace haunts test report tar.gz to here. I want to look at the rejections here. Oh, we need to actually, yeah, that, and then okay. So the expected file has some transparency. The output file has some transparency. Is this the non-normalized something or other? Interesting. On Arch, we see things similar to 2204's GL version. Okay, now it's even more complicated. Like, we're not seeing the blurriness, right? Those look very, very, very similar. Do we dare deal with the image magic commands to blit them against the black background to uh, remove the issue of transparency differences? Compose over. I never remember image magic commands. Yeah. So background none. Fill white. Font point size label. This defines this one. Over and make it. Okay, my Chrome experimental dark mode support is changing this to a black A, but it should look like the white A, and then you plop it on top. Okay. And then now I need to remember how to generate like a black image of a given size. Okay, it's 1024 by 750. So if I do a convert size 1024 by 750 XC, good. So then composite house test data, house viewer 0, compose over black to result. Can you use MS Paint, or are you talking about overlaying still? Talking about overlaying still. But I think we're there. Yeah, the more transparency. Okay, so but then if we composite the rejected file as result.reg, these look not different. I'm going to use my hand-rolled image comparator thinger. Oh, yeah, I wrote a tool to do it. But that's neither here nor there. Go run that. Result and result rejection. There's no difference, literally no difference pixel to pixel. Okay. So the reason it's failing on Arch is because when we dump or read pixels, we don't always convert to alpha pre-normalized? No, alpha pre-multiplied. colors. And so when we do Golang draw commands, we screw things up. Okay. It's odd that hold on. I really don't think it's that. But pardon me. I'm sorry. That what? Why is where did these go? I'm more confused now. I saw the failures and I assumed it was visual failures, but this is saying line 125 UI start test. The plot thickens. What? A what? Okay. Um. Oh. Oh. The other thing we do on Arch Linux is use a tiling window manager. So we might not be able to do the UI automation the same way. Okay. Uh, okay. Uh, okay. Render issues are quite draining, right? Yeah. Yeah, they are. Um, yes. So what I'm thinking right now is when we run an XVFB instance, I guess it would only get a window manager if we ran a window manager, right? We're just using raw unmanaged X windows. So I don't think we should have to care about tiling window manager versus not, because that window manager is not even running. You hooked like 3 engine functions yesterday to try and walk through memory to get a certain field within a struct and replace it. It was to replace the back buffer with my own resource in hopes that the UI composites through my own thing, but that ended up just being 4 hours wasted time. It happens. Yeah, it sure do. How can I? Okay, so long story short, the only test that's failing is this test. Uh, we say, we got a button location, right? We sorry, got button location. Yeah, okay. So we got a button location of 805.245. If we locally is it that run startup specs test draw startup UI test draw give it a dash v. I would expect the same location, right? 805.245. 805.245. Okay. Uh, There's no weird like initialization of GL errors, right? And what did we change when it used to make? I should have used bang bang, not bang dollar. Um, that used to report my GPU. What is going on? This should complain that there's no display. Okay. But we know that there's an Xorg server running at :0. So if I just say display is :0, glxinfo -b. Did I not unset? Did I not unset it? I unset it. This should work and report a software renderer. There you go. This should work and report the hardware renderer. This should report a software renderer. This should report a software renderer. This should report no display. This should report no display. This should report software renderer. This should report hardware. Okay, I have no idea what happened the time before this, but it was wrong. And here's a weird thing. On Arch Linux, xvfb run glxinfo -b. LLVM pipe. XVFB run. Felix info. Hardware. Why is this software and this is hardware? It's not libgl always software. I guess I have a display set here. If display is :0 and we xvfb run felix info -b, shouldn't see a thing. I mean, I guess if we start xvfb, ugh, no, no, uh, I don't think we can squint hard enough to figure this out. I'll be right back. happens if I type on my other machine and say run the tests? Okay, same failure. And when I do the GLX info stuff, I get what I expected. And when I run the test, sorry, it's I just want to make sure I'm doing this right. Like, how long ago has this test been failing? I guess I don't need to do this on um, physically the keyboard over here, so we can at least share keystrokes and see output. But uh, what I did just now was check out a different commit back to the start of May. Do we see failure or success? We see failure. Let's it's not up to date. Thank you. Back home, we can rerun the scp command somewhere. I had it somewhere. Yeah. Bring me that test report targz. We'll clean the rejects. We'll extract the test report. We'll look at the differences. Yeah, again, the kind of Windows Subsystem for Linux image is fuzzy, and the other one is not. Fuzzy, not fuzzy. Fuzzy, not fuzzy. sort of. And that's all there is. Okay. Let's go back another month. Be right back. Yeah, no worries. No worries, Vasi. If we can find a point at which the tests are green, we can bisect to find the change that broke it. This is not a thing. Still not green. At least I don't have to go back and like manually check out the right glop. The Go mod is doing that for us. Okay, this is green. Get branch green. So let's do not this reset, but this reset. If this is red, we can bisect here. Yeah. Okay, so how many changes are between red and green? I just wanted that. Okay, it's not many. There's 10 commits. I mean, I could use get bisect itself. By the time I learn it, I could have just did the bisect myself. Okay, that's what we'll do. Get bisect. Bad is red. Oh, yes. Good is green. Okay, so now we're on this test. We do our test to make sure it's either green or red. So this is green. Okay, so this is get bisect good. Oh, is this revision here? Yeah. So the test never worked here. Interesting. The test never worked on Arch Linux, but it worked on I expect this to pass. It doesn't even compile. What? Um, I guess at the end of the day, we don't have to compile main.go in order to run the tests. Run test draw startup UI. Now that'll fail because main.go is broken. But if we just run /game house. Okay. WTF indeed. Maybe we'll call it we'll assign a new bug for it, I think. This seems too low. Oh my gosh. Git show. Oh. Git show main / to do. Okay. So for the commit, we're seeing strange behavior. The commit introduces a test that clicks some UI through what was then new Mr. Caffeine. Bossy, how are things going? Not too bad. How you doing, Mongoose? We're uncovering more bugs now that we're digging into this image comparison debacle. Like, there's like problems stacked on problems, unfortunately. And one of the problems is that the images don't compare. We're not generating the right image compared to CI. It seems like that is attributable to weird driver or hardware stuff on my local WSL instance. We can reproduce the same images on the 2204, a 2404, and a local software renderer setup. So I'm pretty sure that is like the golden, like the true result. And then I'm getting a weird result just locally through hardware. Okay, so that's one issue. The next issue is that we try to run some tests that seem to have been green in other places. But they're only green right now. The commit is back from the end of March, where we just started using our XDo tool stuff to like drive the UI tests. Mongoose says he's doing okay, making good progress on the map editor. Good. That's bizarre. Even with the pinned OpenGL version stuff, or is it falling back somewhere? It's like yeah, even with the pinned OpenGL version stuff, like tip of tree, a software renderer locally produces example A, and the kind of default renderer locally produces B. Docker container remote and local produce A, but again, those are software renderers. I was like, hey, what if I try a software renderer or a real renderer on my Linux laptop? And that's just opened up a whole new can of worms. So um, that can of worms is that this commit hash passes locally for hardware in hardware, like, and then actually this forces the software renderer. Uh, okay, I think this is failing because um, is there a difference in the image visually or code wise? Depends on the issue we're talking about. In the kind of the base problem, uh, it is a visual difference. Like we're seeing that most environments produce this like crisp image, right? And the actual hardware image produces this like blurry, a little bit of blurriness. It's subtle, but it's there. Back now? Welcome back, Vossi. I'm just trying to bring Mongoose up to speed on the stack of weird issues that are like affecting each other. About to get involved, yeah. Um, but then like the we did notice today that I was able to make the weird what I attribute to non-normalized or non-alpha pre-multiplied colors. We thought Arch Linux did that to us and made images that were visually identical but had different data, namely weird alpha channel shenanigans. We were able to validate that with blitting the rejection file and the expected file against a known black background, and they were pixel for pixel identical. Um, could it be related to color settings, like 256-bit colors versus some other standard? Um, if it is, then that difference is manifest by the driver or hardware. Um, we haven't been able to produce that like weird blur, that weird subtle blur, with a software renderer in any of our test cases we've run. So I'm pretty sure the software renderer will produce the crisp stuff, and I'm pretty sure we want the crisp stuff to be the real stuff. And so it's a case of, do we need to update the driver, fix the driver, work around the driver to get the crisp stuff? But I'm also just very confused as to why the UI driving tools that we built aren't working uh, on Arch Linux right now. The weird blur you described sounds like a precision issue with texture formats. Mm, yeah. Driver off a cliff. Hey, driver. I hardly even know her. Um, yeah. Texture setting stuff could be. Bossy might have a point there. Um, so like you said, we should drop, or we should log the texture parameters and bits and bobs. Let's make note of that. Um, do we have? I don't think we have that tracked here. And it's odd too because we don't really have any problems in glop. It's just in haunts. This is like web UI testing, only worse. Yeah, yeah. Also talking about precision, when you're doing the comparison, the issue might be floating point precision. Just a thought. When I do the comparison, I load it uh, as like a Golang image.rgba, which uses uh, byte values for each channel. A byte for red, a byte for green, a byte for blue, a byte for alpha. And then I also have a threshold of, yeah, you went 8T, yeah, yeah. And then I also have a threshold, which I say, yeah, it's close enough. So like if the blue is within 13 or something of the other one, it's fine. If the green is within 13 of the other one, it's fine. And then like those are independent checks as well. So it can actually be pretty different, but still be close enough. And even that's not enough. So I wouldn't expect a delta, a floating point error just to be that big. But yeah, yeah, yeah. Just rule that out. Yeah, 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 yeah. Um, and it's good to check my logic around why that should fix that, right? So these are good questions. Let's do this. Do we want to do it in glob? Yeah. Okay. 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 So I think one of the things I was trying to do to nail this down was write a red test in glop, the like underlying library, um, that reproduces the most things do crisp, but we're doing blurry. So if I blit a texture across the screen, we get very different things. The rejection has no transparency. The expectation does. Okay, so distracted. um, if we look at um, what did I want to do? I wanted to see if that image had so yeah, one of the dimensions to these problems is this notion of pre-multiplied alpha in the color channels. The image.image RGBA class in Golang expects your byte values to use pre-multiplied alpha, which is to say, uh, when you're looking at the color, uh, it's already scaled by the alpha value in that pixel. Uh, like you can never have a 255, 255, 255, 128. Like you can't have half alpha and full pixel, full color channel. You would do 128, 128, 128, and then noting that alpha is 128. And I think that, and that's just the way the draw package needs it to be, because when it wants to do composition, it doesn't want to have to remultiply alpha or something, I guess. But anyways, that's the format it expects, right? So it's got to be in that format. And the thing is, when we look at our results coming out of our rendering pipeline, we do like a OpenGL read pixels, and that just dumps the frame buffer data. So if the frame buffer is not using pre-multiplied alpha, then we end up trying to use corrupt data when doing our draw. So I want to see if when we load this input image, do we get pre-multiplied alpha or not? Or like, do we get valid information when we go to draw? Okay. When I mentioned validating texture description earlier, I was hinting towards comparing formats too. Yeah. It's unlikely the format changes between hardware and software, but worth a shot. Yeah, I agree. Also, since blending the background to black, is it still failing? Yeah, it is. AKA, it wasn't just an alpha-related fail. For the blurry versus not blurry, blending against black still fails, and I think it should still fail. For blending the weird image draw, so the draw, if it tries to draw not pre-multiplied alpha colors, that's when blending to black kind of shows you that actually these are the same image, and it's just our comparison that's broken. If that answers your question. And I think that's true in the hardware case. I'm not sure I've had a case to reproduce that in the software version. Also, for some reason, running xvfb run glxinfo b on Windows Subsystem for Linux reports the hardware renderer driver, while xvfb run on Arch Linux reports a software renderer. This reminds me of like, do we just say, let's just run our tests with the software renderer? Maybe we should. But I do want our tests to exercise what happens with a real GPU if we can. What happens when we run the app? What? Sorry, what? Yeah, okay. It's nice and crisp. It actually looks better. I mean, it's still as broken as ever, but at least it's not like a total no-go to start using the software renderer everywhere. Running our rendering pipeline with a software renderer seems to produce crisper results than running against the default renderer backed by hardware through v3d12 on Windows Subsystem or Linux. Oh wait, if we are comparing software rendered outputs to hardware rendered outputs, isn't that expected to be slightly different? Yeah, like the decisions made by the renderers and how to represent images are just fundamentally different. Yeah, they should be close though. And sorry, an ad is starting. Mongoose, do you get ads? I forget. I'll make sure to answer your question back from ads. Um, so far, no ad. Okay, so it's weird. Twitch is weird. Agreed. Um, so when we do our comparison, we have our own fuzz factor. I have like a threshold of difference that pixels are allowed to be away from like the expected value. Um, and it's pretty generous. It's like 13 of 255. Like what is that? That's like 5% or 13 out of 255. Yeah, it's like 5% different um, in each channel. So the blue can be off by 5%, the red can be off by 5%, the green can be off by 5%, and the alpha off by 5%, and we still say close enough. Uh, but even that is not generous enough. Okay, now maybe you have ads. I changed my ads around a little bit, so maybe you have ads, maybe you don't. But yeah, yeah, ads just started for you. Yeah, not for Bossy. Okay, Twitch Magic. Yep. Okay, let's clean up after ourselves a little bit. Okay, we cleaned up there. Good. Yeah, we're warning now if we found a non-normalized color. I don't know if we're not. Are we actually calling convert to alpha? Looks like it. Yeah, welcome back from the ads. I'm gonna just clean up a little bit right now. In glop, we've got a test. Um, that seems to be. Sorry for the words are hard. Um, so we're seeing this as the difference in this test, and it's an alpha thing. But if I blit this against black and I blit this against black, I expect to see the same thing. I'm gonna make sure. Um, I'm not sure why I did it this way. But yeah, so the UI stuff uh, for me is getting to a point where I'm going to have to start documenting steps like you are because I can't keep track of the steps in my head anymore. Um, you're talking about like your UI stuff, like at work, or are you talking about my UI stuff? You have to document so you can. It sounds like it's like your real stuff, not my stuff. Yeah, so if we do go run tools image compose, oh, no, we don't have to go run it. We just run it. Um, where was I? Render test data, tutorial regression. Um, I just need a black image. Okay, identify. Yeah, your UI stuff. Yeah, docs are awful to write, but future you will be grateful that you tried. Also other folks, but mostly just future you. Yeah. All right. So 1024 by 768. And so then we learned today that you can do convert size that XC. XC is like short form for canvas. Um, it's black. Okay. So if I do tools image compose the render test data tutorial regression against black as the result, it looks like this. And then if I do the rejection file to that, duh. What? Do I not have a rejection file? It's probably better to use the real texture regger, not tut regger. The rejection file is this one. It's confusing because they look like the same input image, but okay. Let's do the composition again. Compose, render test data, texture regression, 0 ping, against black to result. Okay, and now the rejection against black to result rejection. And look at these. They are different. I'm trying to see if there's any transparency. There's not any here, and there's not any here. Okay. Yeah, those should have been the same, right? Probably. Hmm. Okay. What did we change in debug screenshot? We added a logger, so that's one change. Um, we added this test, which is red test, and we added some test data to go with it, and we added some notes in to do.txt. Okay. Bugs. Bugs everywhere. Might as well make sure these are formatted as well. Okay. Let's add, before I add it accidentally, let's add that and the red test. Test. Drawing a texture ought to look like the input image. Then we'll add debug screenshot. Debug. Warn if we see colors that aren't alpha pre-multiplied. Now that doesn't prove that what am I saying? It's not a if and only if, it's only a if it sees this condition, then we know it's not. We can't say that if we see an image that does satisfy this, that like doesn't return true for this, that it's actually alpha pre-multiplied, but it's at least not going to break draw. I need a quick break, but I'll be right back. Bossy says that, yeah, Mongoose, they're mainly to help me understand at the moment. I don't think they need to go into the code. It's just so I can keep track of things mainly. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, depending on what you end up with for your kind of self notes, um, you might find that turning them into stuff that you can check into the code might be worth your time. Um, but certainly, yeah, keeping notes for yourself super helpful. Yeah, I'll be right back. the next thing I'm going to do before I forget again, write a test to make sure that the underlying parameters format parameters of our textures match expectations will be helpful for detecting wonky differences between platforms. You know, if it's something that the driver can choose to be different, and that has a impact on what we're seeing and what we're generating, we need to find a way to control that. So having an indicator as to like, actually they're using like 2 bits for their texture channel depth, like if that's even a way to describe it. But really, I should assign it to Vossi instead of myself, but all right. Docs. Make note of a test that we ought to not forget to write. Vossi, if you're still here, I might give you a shout out in the commit message if you're okay with that. If I don't hear, I'll not put you in the history unless you want to be in there. There's another thing I wanted to follow up on. Oh yeah, I wanted to run the tests. What's that, sorry? Oh, I was gonna attribute the idea to write the test to you, Vossi, if you're okay with that or want that, and if you don't want to get mentioned, that's totally okay too. I'd just rather respect your privacy, you know. Yeah, I wanted to run these tests with the software renderer too. You don't mind? Your name is Nordic though. Okay. I'll give you like a at Nordic or something. Is that you on GitHub? Not to dox you. Okay, yeah, yeah. Yeah. Hey, crazy12345. Welcome. Thanks for joining the party and seeing all the bugs we have. So many bugs. But, you know, it's also how we track what we're working on and make progress against expectations. So it is what it is. But yeah, at least whether we're using a software renderer or a hardware renderer, we seem to be failing. That we're failing bad, but that we're failing consistently, that's good. It's a lot easier to deal with. Okay. Sort of one thing. Yeah. Thanks, Nordic. Yeah, welcome, Crazy. How you doing? What are you up to? We're working on trying to make sense of all these bugs and finding a way to fix them. But the more we look, the more bugs we find, and we can't squash them fast enough. Story of the developer's life, I guess. Um, you're procrastinating on your exams, else you're good. Yeah. Is it like feel free to not share if you don't want to, but is it university exams like computer science exams, or do you want some help studying? I'd be down to help. Um, Mongoose says, but you're Vossi. Yeah. Friend lets me use this account to interact because signal in my area is so bad that I can't even get into my main account because of Authy. Oh man, bad internet is sad times. Yeah. Doing your master's in software engineering. Oh, sweet. That's super cool. Any um like particular focus areas? Like, are you doing kind of um like are you doing testing? Are you doing like I don't think you can help unless you can make DSLs in Xtext and Eclipse. Domain specific languages in Xtext. I've been known to dabble with DSLs, unless your TLA is a different thing. Your three-letter acronym. TLA is my favorite three-letter acronym because it's kind of self-describing as well. But yeah. Coffee refill time? Yeah, yeah. I'm on tea now. The little dangler of shame. I already drank my pot of coffee, and I promised my wife I wouldn't drink more than one pot of coffee a day right now. Um, but yeah, we verified that the software renderer also fails those tests, so hooray! Yeah, I drink tea. Is it hot tea? It is, yeah. Domain specific lang. Yep, yeah. Um, I have my exam Wednesday. Need to make a whole ass module system. Ugh. Is it like a module system based on like a completely uh, niche specific language, or is it like something based on a language we would know, like Java or Go or something? I remember way back when uh, my compilers course was implement a compiler for this language that totally looks a lot like Java and has the same standard library that we're going to throw at your compiler, but it's like Java 1.2 or something. Dangler shame. You just scared off all your UK viewers. But somebody actually knowing what Xtext is actually encouraging. Um, I don't think I know what Xtext is. Oh, framework for developing programming languages and DSLs. Okay, okay. I know Eclipse, but yeah, I don't know Xtext. Based on your own language, this dog shit and code generates to Python. Wow. Bossy says I'm British and I'm still here. Thank you for your patience and your tolerance for my bad talk of tea that I'm going to go and refill. But yeah, I'm gonna run ads while I'm gone. Uh, yeah, should be back in not too long. See you soon. Mongoose says, but did you die a little inside seeing someone leave the bag in? My sister does it. I personally don't, but each to their own. I don't drink a ton of tea, but when I learned how much better it was to yank it out and not squeeze the bag, I was converted. Huh. How long? How long does it should it steep for? I mean, I guess that's a question that's like asking Emacs or Vim. Not squeeze the bag? Yeah, like if you have the bag, you take it out, squeeze it, get all the good stuff out. Doesn't taste very strong like that. Well, if you leave the bag in, it'll. Yeah. Okay. My inner cheapskate had to sit down and shut up about the wasted tea juice. I mean, you paid for the whole tea bag, and there's there's dirty water in there, and you want that dirty water, so you got to get it out somehow. Um. Okay. Let's also do a little cleanup around. Oh, we are clean. Okay. So yeah, crazy if you're still here. We try to use a little thing called test-driven development on this channel. Um, I think we have the red test though, right? GL. Okay, we don't have that set. Verify that we're red and that we're failing for the right reasons. There was an image mismatch. We expected this, but we saw this. That's not good. Posse says, I get a pretty strong tea tasting strong without the bag. I just leave it to brew for like 3 minutes and squeeze at the end too. Strong, strong, strong. Right? It's that weird bitter note that comes from that or leaving the bag in. It's nicer without that. Mm. Okay, so we have a red test, so we're going to green it. Easier said than done, but yeah. So I wanted to look at the logs. That's what I wanted to do. I wanted to look at the logs to see if we warn about any of the colors being not pre-alpha or alpha pre-multiplied. Oh, good. There's this. These logs are actually a side effect of a test that needs to do those logs. I should clean that up. They shouldn't be printing because it's disturbing to see errors and warnings in your test logs when they're actually okay. That you're generating those error messages ought be suppressed in the test output, but available for when you dig into it. Um, yeah. Okay. Let's try and do just drawing this test. So test run args is dash run test drawing texture. Something 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 tannins. Yeah. By the way, a funny thing I'm experiencing that blurry thing you have. Oh really? For me though, it's because UE uses RGB 10A2 UNorm for HDR color ranges, but I'm using RGBA 8 UNorm at the moment. Yeah. Anywho, gotta go. Time to bash my head against my own brick walls. Yeah, good luck, Mongoose. Wow, TDD. Where I work, I asked, how do you guys structure unit tests? Then they said it's been a long time since uh, It's been a long time. Look at the GitHub. On the GitHub, I found a folder 14 years old with an empty constructor with a comment saying to do constructor. Yeah, different organizations are going to have different uh, motivators, and so sometimes it makes sense to write tests, sometimes it doesn't. Um, for me, I'm working on this project that I don't have a lot of context and there's a lot of code, and so it's easier for me to try to pick it apart and make a little bit of it work at a time. And I find that my tests have been helping me to do that. So, you're in software engineering, it's a trade-off. What isn't? Um, okay, we're still getting the same-ish regression when we run it. Run it just this one, so it doesn't seem like it's a crosstalk issue with the tests. Thank goodness. But yeah, like maybe here we can do. So I need to find out why this test is failing. Um, yes, the images that we see don't match, but like, why don't they match? Um, so let's validate our assumptions, right? So I'm assuming that when we load the file from disk, we end up with a image that matches it. Um, Everything is a trade-off. I'm just confused why they still have the folder. Yeah, I mean the trade-off of bothering to commit the removal versus the like mental overhead of people seeing some random junk folder. If nobody's looking, nobody's worried about it. But yeah. Okay. Let's make sure that um, when we draw it to this image here, that it's alpha premultiplied and not totally borked nonsense. All right. Uh, verify. I had that function convert to alpha premultiplied or something like that. Yeah. We can factor this out. But for now, we're in green step, so we can commit heresy. Um, so I'm going to switch BS for RGBA dot RGBA image dot pix globally. And then yes, we need a logger. Logger dot new warning logger. Okay, and so now we should see in the logs if it's not pre-multiplied when it comes out of the draw. I don't see that. What is this about? Please don't tell me that. What? Where did that go? Okay, this might be indicative of Windows Subsystem for Linux being special, we'll say. Uh, long story short, like Oh, my keystrokes are off still. Whoops. Um, kind of handy right now because I don't want to leak my password. But long story short, um, Windows Subsystem for Linux does not create run user UID by default. Um, maybe it's like some systemd component that we need to add or whatever, but I need to add that. XVFB run, though, uses a different temp folder. XVFB run bash. Okay, fine. XVFB run. We made that June 2nd at 1:56. That's right now. Okay. Okay, so there is an XVFB instance running. They're usually not very long lived. I spin them up to run my tests and then I turn them off. But there's some Go processes, well, Go please processes for my semantic completer, but no like Go test command. So this is defunct. Why would it not get cleaned up? It even has that. Like, oh yeah. Okay. Back to Windows Subsystem for Linux is special and stuff. So it's got like this kind of sidecar system image that runs services like the like a shim for rendering to DirectX from a OpenGL context. Um, blah blah blah. It crashes sometimes, and when it crashes, it might blow away the slash temp. Maybe. I don't know. What I do know is that we can remove that. Sorry, is that directory is no longer there. Um, so this one's dead. Let's kill it. See, that makes sense. We can do that. Okay. Okay. Where was I? We ran the test and we saw XVFB complaining that it couldn't clean up. So did we crash the system image with our test? Why Whistle, if I may ask? Because I don't like to develop on Windows, but my gaming rig is running Windows because I game. Um, I could SSH into my laptop, I guess, but uh, yeah, I'd rather develop on top of Linux. I'm gonna have to port to Windows eventually, but all my like Vim config and tools and my fingers remember is Linux. So does that make sense? Okay, so I'm pretty sure we're not crashing the system image, which is good. I SteamOS to the rescue. Yeah, yeah. I used to have a test that actually blue screened Windows through Wizzle. Where is it? Yeah. I think maybe it's patched to not crash right now. Oops. But yeah, this used to crash Windows Subsystem for Linux. Sorry, used to crash Windows with blue screen, and it was really annoying because I run the test a lot and it would crash. Linux is better. I know that as well. I too use Wizzle at work. I know the pain. Yeah, like to be honest, like it's really good. I've really enjoyed uh, being able to use it, and a lot of what it gives is just works out of the box, and I love it. But it's its own unique special snowflake, and sometimes that crops up and gets in the way of doing work. But I also find that it prods me to learn more about the things that just work out of the box. So things like running a user debug session, and like why you kind of don't want to do that and stuff. It's almost there, but the small things add up. Yeah, totally agree. Um, okay, so we're not using. Let, let's for uh, what you call it to be thorough. Export libgl always software. It's true. So don't use the hardware renderer. Use the software renderer. Um, glx info -b. LVM pipe. Good, good, good. And if I xvp run that, okay, good. So now if we make test, let's do that. Okay, still fails, and it looks basically the same. Okay, good. This is good. But we don't see anything about found non-normalized color, right? We see it in a diff. Diff. Yeah. So, okay. So it's not that this image is non-normalized. Okay. And then similarly, it's not that when we screenshot, it's not non-normalized. Okay, that's good. When we upload the texture, Crazy said, for me, it's that sometimes it does not let me connect to any port. Brr. Oh, like it kind of runs on an isolated network. I've found a few things where like uh, if I've turned on Windows Subsystem for Linux and I start up like my Plex server that like tries to bind to any free address, sometimes it picks the WSL device, and so I can't actually connect to it outside of my computer. But for the most part, networking has just worked. I wonder if that's something I've done um, or what. But that sucks. I hate debugging networking stuff, especially like home networking stuff where it's like the ISP provides you the modem that you have to use, and it's like probably a shitbox, but they don't let you into it to just fix it. I'm kind of dealing with that right now, to be honest. Um, what's the next step here? So we should look at what the inputs are to thing. Render test. What if we use this helper to draw what am I thinking? Okay, so the sequence of events is we we load this ping file and we then upload it as a texture, and then we draw that texture across a quad, and we say, oh, by the way, you need to look like the image we picked. Okay, when we so we know that when we call given a texture that we load the file and that creates an image RGBA that's not invalid with respect to alpha pre-multiplied colors. Does our test infrastructure do the same when it loads the file? I mean, hopefully it reuses the code, but let's not assume. Um, so I'm pretty sure that this gets called. So let's, oops, I did not mean to close the file. Let's verify our assumption that we are calling this when we're trying to do the comparison. Oop. Yeah, okay. Oh, this is so sad. I don't want to listen to that. This is the music we're listening to right now is actually a recording of a live event that happened in Arizona. Um, long story short, there was a sad thing that happened at that event, and yeah, yuck. We can just skip that. Are you using Vim and not NeoVim like everyone else? Correct. I am using vanilla Vim. Um, this one. But yeah. Maybe I should use NeoVim, but all my config I wrote against Vim instead of NeoVim. So I'd rather like I have used NeoVim a little bit, and it mostly my config mostly ported, but again those little things, right? And they add up. Um, if it works, it works. Yeah, I just started in NeoVim, making it easier. Yeah, they work really hard to support like backwards compatibility basically with Vim. Um, but I think like my semantic completer plugin explicitly says like NeoVim's not supported, and I don't want to open that can of worms. Um, Here's the thing. What if we say um, color dot. Yeah, I don't know how familiar you are with TDD, crazy, but we're doing a green step. We're allowed to commit heresy. It doesn't have to be readable. Doesn't have to be clean. Doesn't have to be anything other than green. Um, so I think the real thing is that the rejection file is blitted against a black, pardon me, a black background. And so if we blit against, if we blit against a transparent background, yeah, no, it's still jacked, and it should have been transparent. No, no, the input file has transparency. Why? Here's a question. Um, Only heard some stop from Uncle Bob about seeing it as double entry bookkeeping. Oh, some stuff about double entry bookkeeping. Yeah. Um, Certainly, like a lot of my commit messages end up being like that. Uh, but I guess like in terms of like clean code or whatever, yeah, it's a trade-off. Do you want to spend cycles conforming to some arbitrary style guide or like pattern? Might be worth it. Depends. But yeah, if we said do the comparison against a transparent image, transparent background, why does the rejection file have no transparency? I would have expected it to have transparency. Test drawing rejection file with transparency. So we're gonna say, um, what are we gonna say? We're gonna say that the image texture is again just a texture that we're gonna load from disk. Uh, we got to reach into our test infrastructure to like poke and prod it, but that's fine. Um, all this code is very not clean. we always dump the actual image. Which is what we debug screenshot. Okay. So if we say gl.clearColor, well, we'll probably have to do a render with clear color. Let's do like a quarter. We'll clear the color buffer bit, which means set it to this kind of like translucent gray. We'll do a screenshot RGBA. The default width and height are 64. Right. And then it should be that every pixel in there is exactly this. Assert each pixel in screenshot. We'll give it a reference to the testing T. So I'm thinking like, what's the type that I want to pass into this helper function? Is it a color or is it a bunch of components? I don't think we can do it like this, but we can try. Really, it's this, and so it's this. Yeah. Yeah. The pattern stuff is matching wrong. So return red is the same as green, is the same as blue, is the same as alpha, is the same as 64. Um, the predicate is a func of color to bool. And then for idx 0, I is less, dx is less than len image.pix over 4. So we call the pred on do I want to walk the bytes of the RGBA, or do I want to walk like the color of image.at? If we did image.at, we could use non-RGBA image types. I'd rather do it like this. Image pix. Predicate of that color. If it fails, p.fail log f bad pixel at non-d non-d. So the x coordinate should be idx over 4 mod. I guess we don't know the image dimensions. So let's just pass the index. That's what you're going to want. Well, you can do the math if it fails. Okay. The test is not complete, but I want to see if it runs or fails yet. Okay. Okay, that's just like transparent black. Did we not clear the color buffer? With we don't need to clear it ourselves. I keep forgetting that when I call this with clear color thing. We don't actually need to call it ourselves. Ooh, is it every... Looks like every pixel is black. Wait. Clamp F. Okay, that's got pre-multiplied alpha. $16 is a quarter of 255. I did not expect that. Is that the same when we run with libgl software always? I'm not sure if I'm exporting it though. Like it is that is the thing, right? That libgl always software. Wait, wait, wait. This is not set, right? Okay. Like it's using. Okay. Whether we do software renderer or otherwise, it's still. It's. LLVM pipe. Okay. I'm going to do a thing. If somebody has set libgl's always software, warn, perhaps. When did I do this and why? Oh my god, it's 2:30. Okay. The test is not that it's alpha pre-multiplied or not. The test that I wanted was are these GUGs B is 16 and alpha is 64. Sorry, what? What? What is going on here? I'm really confused right now. Why is blue not equal to 16? I'll be right back. I think I know why it's not 16. I think that it is because when you call .rgba, it returns everything as uint16s that get mapped. Well, mapped. They multiply the uint8 that we would expect by 2 to the 8 and return it as a uint16 because of interface reasons. So it's really let's verify that though. Python 16 times 2 to the 8, 4096. I mean, it's close, but and it's really not times 2 to the 8. It's times 255 or something. Yeah, all floats in Python are doubles. If you took a 0.25 this is I mean oh, it's not just a shift up, it's a shift up and mask with itself. That's really annoying. Texture test. We're getting there. We're getting there. We should just divide it by. We should do like an integer truncating divide by 2 to the 8. Getting rid of all this. Ugh, my fingers are broken right now. Test run args. Okay. So what does that mean here? We need a. I don't want to write to the disk if I don't have to. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a bytes buffer. Use that as a file. Stand in. So png.encode the screenshot to buff. Is it image file or file image? I think it's file image. Here's that if error not nil, panic. Couldn't png encode to a bytes buffer. Normally known as that shouldn't happen. The reparsed image is png.decode buff.bytes. Do I have to say like buff.reset? Like buff.reset. It's not reset, it's I'm worried that the read position on the buffer is going to be wonky, but couldn't decode from the bytes from. I need to call it soon because my fingers are not working. Um, transparent. And then assert each pixel. This better be the same thing. Yes, compiler, you are correct. You gotta be. You're messing with me, right? Like, no. Gotta be messing with me. Am I crazy? First of all, we can do it with size like 4x4 and really cut down on this. log here. I want to log here. Okay. I'm gonna have to call it here, but this is indicative of a problem. Namely, this should round trip. Like, we shouldn't see 15 here. We should see 16 here. Like, PNG is a lossless encoding, so encoding it and decoding it should be the same. Well, sorry. Encoding it and decoding it should return the original value. But we'll have to deal with that next time. Thanks so much for watching. Hope to see you again next time.